All right. We roll on with, of course, Mr. Cam Underwood from State of the U, talking Miami football with the Canes going to the practice field for the very final time in Orlando against themselves for the spring game. Cam, how you doing tonight?
Hey, I'm good. So just here hanging out, ready to talk some Canes football with you guys.
Absolutely. So I thought that it would be better than trying to shut down and restart a live stream just to keep this thing going. And so what we're going to do for people that are jumping on later, if you want to just to see Oklahoma, if you just want to see Ohio State, or in the finality Miami, I will clip off those segments and have specific segments for those particular teams. We got Cam Underwood, of course, here on a Wednesday night. So please remember that we've got the super chat going. Cam has a full-time job. He has a full-time job as running the State of the U. Of course, you want to check that out for Miami Athletics. And as the NFL draft ensues this weekend, thoughts there about Canes going to those respective NFL teams. But please just keep that under consideration as Cam gives us great analysis for the next hour or so. So that being the case, we talked about the challenges of you and the rest of us keeping up with the spring game, and because of the lack of TV and the live stream. So how were you able to accomplish that? And then more importantly, what is your big take?
Yeah, well, there were people there who were, covering the game and tweeting. So all of, our guy, Gabby Urrutia, who's become our beat writer basically, and he's doing a great job. I give him all of the credit that he deserves all the way through the spring season and moving forward. So obviously he was there. All your normal beat writers: Sun Sentinel, Miami Herald, The Athletic, 247 Sports, and then there were some enterprising individuals in the stands who decided to run their batteries down on their phones with live streams or periscopes or other kinds of things. So yeah, I was able to see some of it. I was running around a little bit because that's a thing that I was going to do on a Saturday because I wasn't up there. But yeah, I got to see a lot of it and get reactions from people who were there. So that was a good thing. So I was able to keep up with it, as were the rest of the fan base, who were either just not making the trip up to Orlando, or who are not local to South Florida anyway. So that's kind of how we were able to go through that. And then I, just obviously tried to read everything possible about the spring game. Obviously, starting with, our website, Gabby Urrutia had a nice recap and everything. So going from there, really, the thing that stepped up from even just a cursory glance at social media was the fact that Tate Martell, I said that he needed a big game in the final scrimmage after the second scrimmage not really being up to par. And he took a big step forward. And the thing was, they let him work in the shotgun. And that's what we've been saying. If he has to be under center, he can't play here, period. I mean, he just can't. He's not built like that. But when you put him under shotgun or in the shotgun, then, some things start to work. You had a 80-yard touchdown on an RPO against the second team defense to KJ Osborne, arguably number one receiver, definitely the number one healthy wide receiver, because Jeff Thomas and Brian Hightower both had minor knee surgeries. We talked about that last week, or procedures, I should say. So KJ Osborne was the number one receiver who was healthy, but he was working in the slot. And this is a thing that I think that we're going to see from Dan Enos, where he's going to interchange the receiver. So you're not just going to be an X, a Y, or a Z, or slot, whatever. You have to know multiple positions, and that happened on that RPO play. So, it was against the backups. I mean, you have a scholarship player who's not going to play base defense, who, was in the secondary. He got shook, and then he outran some fast guys. Nigel Bethel, who was like a very, very fast kid, a sprinter in high school, one of the fastest kids in Dade County when he was coming out of Miami Northwestern. And KJ Osborne got the angle, or he outran the angle and scored from 80. So that was good. And that was, the pass was on time by Martell. He showed, the ability to hit some throws, to move around. And like I said, his game is outside of the pockets. That sandlot football. When he is able to move around, he plays the style of Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel, not going to say he's as good as, because if he was, like, duh, everybody would see that. Everybody would know that. But that same kind of thing. Somebody comes at him, he goes, he spins, he's running around, extending a play, and you can look back all the way to his high school highlights at Bishop Gorman. When he is in rhythm and on time in the pocket, okay, you're going to get your completions, you're going to move the chains. When the play breaks down and Tate Martell has to improvise, that's when you hold your breath. In a good way, because you think, oh my God, this could be a touchdown. He can run, he can throw, he's a dynamic player in that kind of a way. And earlier in the spring, one time I spoke about the fact that Dan Enos said that he wants to tear the quarter or break the quarterbacks down and rebuild them from the studs. So you're going to strip away all of their stuff, what they think or what their perception or their recruiting ranking or and you're really just going to go to the foundation and build them from the ground up. And that is what happened, like when we saw in the second scrimmage, like Perry and Williams were more easily adaptable to the, playing from under center, I should say. And Tate Martell really struggled. And everybody's going to have things that they struggle with. But when you open up the playbook a little bit, then, you can see some of the things that make him potentially a dynamic player and back into the battle for quarterback one. Because, like I said, last time we spoke, Tate Martell was off the radar. And I needed a big showing on last week, Saturday, and we got that. So that's a big takeaway. The defensive line is going to be really good. That's another takeaway. I mean, just across the board. Nessa Silvera, Gregory Rousseau, Jonathan Garvin. It's kind of crazy that we're not talking more about John Garvin because we almost take his greatness for granted at this point. The linebackers, you move Patrick Joyner, who was a linebacker in air quotations in high school, and in Dade County, your best players, you're going to put a defensive end. Basically, I mean, your tweeners, your defensive linemen, linebackers, you're going to put them in defensive end and hopefully have them get up the field. And that's what he did in high school, even though he was labeled a linebacker coming out. So he played D end. But, if you're looking at the rotation, Patrick Joyner's probably not going to play much at defensive end. But we need linebackers. And he actually had a couple tackles for loss. He flashed some instincts and potential there. And that makes me happy because, if you have him and then you bring in a Avery Huff, Sam Brooks, he was one of those edge rusher kind of guys at a linebacker for Miami Northwestern. I want to see him transition to actually, stand-up linebacker. But, you move Patrick Joyner back to the second level. And, I'm not going to put him as like the best backup right now, but he has the best skill set of the backups who are currently on campus. And to see that and see him take to that position like a fish to water, I mean, just they moved him and, I mean, boom, he was making plays, within the week that he changed. And bear in mind, there's only 3 practices a week. So he had like 2 practices at linebacker. And then he's making plays in the spring game in the scheme of our defense. Yo, I love that. So that was another big takeaway. Running backs are, it's DJ Dallas and Cam Harris. Cam Harris, I'm not ready to put him at running back 1, but it's getting closer, I think. I mean, he's just really taking a huge leap forward. And all the quarterbacks, Martell and Williams and Perry really had strong showings, I think. So, yeah, it kind of evened things out. But, I mean, those are just some of the Cliff's notes off the top of my head. But I think that we did see a lot of things that we needed to see. The offensive line apparently was pretty good. I want to see this Zion Nelson kid in person. Our guy, Justin DeTavio, just wrote a piece about how a 2-star recruit could be, as a true freshman, end up the starting left tackle at Miami. And that would be the case if it were Zion Nelson, because he was a 2-star with one offer, like a couple offers. He was committed to Appalachian State. And then Miami came in late. And this kid is 6'5", 240. He's up to 271 right now. And he's an early enrollee. So you're talking 30 pounds in, 4.5, 5 months. I'm not going to think that he's going to get up to 300 something. But if he could be at, if he's at 271 now, if he's at 280, 285 by the fall, I mean, that gives him enough, I think, of a foundation of a base of strength and size to compete out there. And so, Justin DeTavio looked at that. And that's a thing where, I would prefer it if Miami had a ready-made 5-star, returning All-American left tackle. Point of fact is we don't. And if Zion Nelson is proving himself to be the best option there, then I was on another podcast a couple days ago this week, and one of the other panelists threw out the name Jason Fox, former tackle for Miami, who's from Texas originally, and he came in and he was about 6'5", 6'6", 270, and he had a nice career. Ended up playing in the NFL for like a decade almost. And I countered that with also Eric Winston, who came into Miami as a 5-star tight end, but he was like, the sixth lineman for his Texas high school football team, and then he eventually moved over to left tackle, played in the league forever, might still be in the league. I think he was the Players Association president, Eric Winston. But if we can get Zion Nelson to approximate either, or he could, between just Jason Fox or Eric Winston, if we can get that out of him, that would be such a huge win. And especially because, we don't have tackles. And if we found one and he ends up, bucking the trend and being the very lowly recruited guy who is a standout, then I'll take it. But yeah, those are just some of the things that were the reaction, I think, from this spring game. And, the biggest thing at the end was that there were no additional injuries. Everybody made it out healthy. And that's always a good thing from spring, or the last spring game, at least, because there were injuries before that.
Eric Winstead played in the NFL for 165 games, 127 of those starts. Last for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2017. Apparently, it's 2017, so he missed last season. So apparently he has finally hung it up after a lengthy NFL career. We got Cam Underwood on the line from State of the U talking Miami football. And Cam, as I was looking at the numbers and talking about the numbers of viewers, I was wondering, it usually, wherever it's sitting, 30, and then just go, and then you just see it going up by the second, and it's just hanging around 32. And I was wondering what the deal was, the power of the Miami brand. So I had this labeled because it originally started at 7 o'clock or 6:30 with me taking a call-in show, just the Voice of College Football call-in show. Wasn't labeled Miami. So I have made those edits, and hopefully now the swarm comes in to talk and listen to Cam analyze Miami football and what's happened there in Coral Gables over the last month. All right, Cam, we got Coconut Kane on the line talking about the Dan Enos offense. And if I recall, you basically said one of the brilliance of Dan Enos's approach is that it's very adaptable, very flexible. Coconut Kane asking which quarterback fits the Dan Enos offense best. And also, as we project forward to other quarterbacking recruits, what would be the type of quarterback that Dan Enos would want to have come to Miami?
Those are really good questions. First of all, we're going to start with the offense. Dan Enos himself said that the offense would change. It would be different with each of the three contenders at quarterback. So depending on who wins the job, the things that are highlighted, the things that they do, the things that they'll lean on a little bit will change. So you're going to have your staples, your foundation, your inside dive, your outside zone, all those kind of things, but you're going to build out the rest of the offense in a different kind of a way. So I don't necessarily think that there's one quarterback on the roster even who is the fit for the offense, because Dan Enos is doing what we've asked. He says that he's going to do what we've asked, and that is thinking players first, plays second. So, he's talking about, look, Jeff Thomas needs to get 10, 12 touches a game. So I'm going to think of 10 or 12, ways to get him the ball. Now, if we find this particular play works, you always have that. If you see it in the first quarter and it works, maybe you're going to come back to it. Maybe if you see it in the first quarter and you get a tackle for loss because somebody blows their block, but you see that the route combination is going to work, you might come back to that. So I'm not going to say it's going to be 10 different things, but you're going to think of, probably 10 or 12 or 15 different ways to get him the ball. And then you're going to use the game situations to find a way to make that happen. If Tate Martell is the quarterback, you're going to see more quarterback run. You're going to see more option, more zone, more called quarterback draws. Think Kyler Murray. I'm not saying that he's going to be the same, performance as Kyler Murray. I'm thinking, because I was just watching on ESPN, they were playing, or ESPNU, they were playing back some of the greatest hits of some of the upcoming draft picks for, tomorrow. And I was watching it was Oklahoma, West Virginia game. And when he scored Murray on that first 70-yard touchdown or whatever, and everybody's like, oh, that's a zone read, or that's a scramble. They're like, no, that's a called quarterback run. He's going to sit there, 1, 2, boom. Running back's going to block, kick out. And then you're going to go. You're going to see that if Tate Martell is the quarterback. You probably won't see that if Jaron Williams is the quarterback. You'll probably see some kind of quarterback run, but still not probably the same iteration thereof if N'Kosi Perry is the quarterback. So I think that there are things to like for all three quarterbacks, and I think that Dan Enos is getting a feel for what they do best. I think that you're going to see more, maybe more play action. from Jarren Williams, just thinking about his skill set, his accuracy, especially in the mid, the intermediate range. I think that you're going to see more shots over the top with N'Kosi Perry because he has absolute cannon for an arm. So, yeah, I think that all three quarterbacks could be very good in the offense. And again, you need the offensive line to block well. You need the running backs to perform well. You need receivers to catch the ball. Tight ends are going to be a huge part of the game plan because we have two of the best tight ends in America in Brevin Jordan and Will Mallory. And I saw some people discussing this from even when they were recruits before they were even freshmen. And I tend to agree with it. As good as Brevin Jordan is, and Brevin Jordan is better right now, Will Mallory's ceiling for potential might even be higher than Brevin Jordan's. And Brevin Jordan was a freshman All-American. Well, you're thinking like junior, senior, NFL kind of a thing. Will Mallory might have a higher ceiling. And that is saying something because Brevin Jordan is a special, special player at tight end. So, yeah, you're going to think players before plays. And the offense is going to be different depending on who is the quarterback. So I think that it will fit their skills as opposed to them, the quarterback fitting to what the offense wants to do. We're going to fit the offense to what they do well, if that makes sense. So it's a difference in the approach. Insofar as quarterbacks of the future, Miami did just contact another kid recently. I forget his name, but he threw for like 3,500 yards and 33 touchdowns and 5 interceptions as a junior. So why not? Excuse me. I think it's from Georgia or something like that. But I mean, when you have stats like that, like, yeah, okay, we can contact. He's like a 3-star right now, but apparently he went to the opening Atlanta and everybody was like, yo, this kid was really, really good. So, credit to Dan Enos for reaching out to the kid. And I'm sorry, I read it earlier and I'm tired because I just came back from the gym, so I do not remember his name. Anyways, I think that we're going to look for the best player available. And, hopefully in 2020, we're going to get a kid or a guy at least. I would like it to be, at least a kid who we think in 3 years could be the starting quarterback. In 2021, I want to see us get a superstar, like that Jake Garcia kid from California, who's a potential 5-star who just visited last week. Yeah. Give me that. And look, I'm not going to turn down a 5-star in 2020. Like I'm not, right now. No. I'm not going to turn down any 5-stars. I just think that we're going to be in the solid kind of player range right now. So stepping from a program player last year with Peyton Matoka to a potential starter to a potential superstar over these 3 years. But I don't think that there is a specific archetype that we have to fit. I think we just need to get the most talented guys that we can possibly get. Because again, Dan Enos's offense is going to be malleable to the talent available. So if you have, a better running game, hopefully you have an offensive line to lean on that. If you have a quarterback who's more of a pocket passer, then you're going to lean on that. If you have a quarterback who's going to be a scrambler like Tate Martell, then you're going to build those things in. So I don't think that we have to get a specific, type of player. Plus the fact, more often than not, players can move. You know what I mean? Like, I worked at Miramar High School when Geno Smith was there, and he was everybody's All-American. He could throw the ball a mile. You would not think of Geno Smith as anybody's dual threat. I mean, I know that like people who don't follow recruiting think, oh, he's 6'4", 173 pounds, and he's a black kid. He has to be able to run fast. Not really. But he would move in that pocket, and if he saw that he needed it's 3rd and 9, he's going to run and get you 12. If you're playing man free and everybody's back is turned, he said, you know what? I'm going to step, look, I can go. So even a kid like that coming from high school could move enough to get the job done. You know what I mean? So as long as we don't have somebody who is cement-footed, look, he's great, but Brad Kaya was not mobile at all. Like, he ran for a first down, I think the final bowl game, and everybody's mind was exploded. Like, what? He could do that? As long as we don't get somebody who's that kind of slow, then I think that the offense will be okay. So Jarren Williams, again, nobody's, sprinting All-American, but he can run, he can move enough. N'Kosi Perry is probably a little bit better runner than is Williams. Tate Martell, we already see his, like the Sam McGuffey highlight tape from years ago where he's juking people and jumping over guys. So I don't necessarily think that there's a thing like that. As long as you have a strong arm and the base of some good technique and projectable accuracy. Like, you cannot be completely scattershot, where I have a cannon for an arm and I have no idea where it's going to go. If you look, and Danny knows things, look, we have the ability to teach you how to put the ball in a place, then you you can choose the place and put the ball there consistently, then that's the kind of guy who I think that we should get. So yeah, I don't think that it's going to be one kind of pocket passer or dual threat guy or whatever, but best players available. And then, hopefully you have a diversity of skill sets in that, in the room. And then, you just let them battle it out just like we're doing this year.
If you love the content on Miami football, specifically with Cam Underwood from State of the U, please contribute a number of ways you can do that. Certainly like the video. If nothing else, like the live stream. It helps us on YouTube. Of course, make your comments known, share the videos, and subscribe right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. And, of course, we've got the super chat on. Justin Firm, we thank you. And also, I lost his name, Ricky Suave. Thank you so much for contributing to the super chat as well. Ricky has a question concerning the wide receiver position and who should be the leading receiver. Ricky's going to pin it down to specifically receiving yards this year.
The leading receiver in receiving yards this year should be Jeff Thomas. He's the most dynamic player. I mean, you saw it last year. He was averaging almost 40 yards a catch through the first 3 games. I mean, yeah, he's going to move around the formation. He's going to be, in multiple different places. So, he's not that 6'1", 6'2" person like Armon Richards was, where you can put him at the X and then just say, okay, look, work it out. But yeah, it should be him. I think, tight ends are going to have a pretty good receiving season because they're, it's easier to see them in the middle of the field. I think KJ Osborne's going to have a good year. I think that they're going to rotate a lot on offense at the receiver position. So, your Mark Pope's going to get snaps. D. Wiggins, Brian Hightower, Jeremiah Payton as a true freshman is going to play snaps for this team. So there's going to be a lot of guys who are going to get, catches and yards. But in a perfect world, it's going to be Jeff Thomas because Jeff Thomas is going to use the Jets, and he's going to he's going to be 20-something yards a catch. He's going to be stretching the defense. He's going to be running by guys, juking guys, and celebrating going down the field. I mean, think to the North Carolina game in 2000. This is the 19th season coming up. So 2017. We're down at the half, come out of the half, double move. Malik Rozier puts the ball on him. All of a sudden, there's nobody on his side of the 50 because he's undressed a guy and he scored from 75 yards out. Those kind of things are what we should see from Jeff Thomas. So, yeah, in a perfect world, Jeff Thomas is going to be your leading receiver, and I think that that's a pretty clear proposition to me.
I could have taken that question. I should have grabbed that one. I should have given Cam a break. I could have jumped on that one because as soon as I asked that, I thought I can answer that one. I could go with the stretch the field, the 20 yards per catch.
Mm-hmm.
I even remember the North Carolina game and them coming out at halftime. It was like a 10-6 game. It was a pretty ugly game, and boom. And then I remember all the times, and Cam will more so remember them that Jeff Thomas was open, but the ball was nowhere. He was spinning around trying to flag it down, and he was open, and it just burned the guy. But the quarterback at the time could not connect. Cam Underwood from State of the U talking Miami football here each and every Wednesday night with you. We don't have a whole lot of comments. We've got all sorts of comments, the typical rhetoric on the line. But in terms of a question, it goes from 0 to 100 when you talk about the one question that's asked here for you to go through the depth chart at every position. Whoa. We're not going to ask Cam to do that. He'll be sitting here at midnight dissecting. So let's trim it down to pick a position that intrigues you and something that you would like to just dissect and explain for us in terms of a position that, again, intrigues you and where it stands and where you think it needs to be decided going into August camp and through that month.
Position I'm going to go with is offensive line. Defensive line, there's a lot of depth. And I think that the young defensive tackle, they're not necessarily young anymore, but John Ford is a junior, Nessa Silvera is a sophomore, Pat Bethel's a senior, Chigozie Naruka is going to be a grad transfer from UCLA at D-tackle. So I think that, up front, I think that both of those positions, end and I already talked about the ends before, but, you're going to be adding in a Trayvon Hill to the group already. And the up front's going to be fine. Linebackers should be fine as long as, the starters stay healthy and Patrick Joyner continues to progress as he transitions from end to linebacker. Secondary, I think, is going to be fine. we might be looking at a grad transfer at cornerback, maybe a KJ Sales. I know I've seen some of the from North Carolina. That is, I've seen some of our players tweeting with him recently. So maybe bring him in. But either, even without him, I think that DJ Ivey is going to be take a big step forward. Al Blades Jr. Opposite Trajan Bandy, and then I've said we already are going to have 3 NFL players, and Gervin Hall, Amari Carter, and Bubba Bolden at safety. So other players do not need to be taking snaps there. Running backs were pretty deep. Lorenzo Lingard needs to get fully healthy to be the number 3 back for right now, which is crazy because he's a 5-star in just last year's class. But when he's coming off an injury, he's going to be a little bit behind Harris and Dallas. Wide receivers, I just talked about them. Tight ends, I just talked about them. Quarterbacks, I talked about them. But yeah, offensive line, that's the one, because their ability to play better is going to have a huge impact on the season and this offense, because you can't run exotic stuff if you can't block. You can't run basic stuff if you can't block. You cannot run a 7-step drop. I mean, well, then again, we're probably not going to take a 7-step drop from center, but even from shotgun, you can't take a 3-5-step drop from shotgun to really give time for the vertical routes to develop if you cannot block. So where I think that needs to be settled is, first of all, I think you need to build from the outside in. So who's going to be your tackles? Is it going to be Nelson, true freshman, at left tackle, and then maybe a DJ Scaife at right tackle, maybe a redshirt freshman John Campbell at right tackle, maybe Zalante Hillary, a redshirt sophomore at right tackle? Who are your tackles going to be? Because we have a lot of guard types. Oh, excuse me. Woo. Woo. Oh, there we go. No, talking too fast. I was almost going to get the hiccups. So we have a lot of guard types. So I'm very confident, our interior linemen, if you will, guards and centers. So I'm confident we can find 3 guys to be on the inside, whether that's Devon Donaldson, DJ Scaife, Cleveland Reed, Corey Gaynor, even Tommy Kennedy, who's a grad transfer from Butler, who played exclusively left tackle in his time there, but worked exclusively in the interior line in his time here. So, yeah, I think we're going to give up any thought that he's going to be a left tackle. But, I mean, he could be a guy in the interior of the line, maybe even a John Campbell inside, So I think that there's enough there. So you really got to start outside. Who are going to be the tackles? George Brown Jr., transfer from LSU, was a 4-star recruit a few years ago, hasn't played a meaningful snap. Is he going to? Is he going to contend for a spot? Is it going to be Zalante Hillary? Is it going to be John Campbell? Is it going to be Kyleon Herbert, who's a 4-star from American Heritage? Is it going to be DJ Scaife? Is it going to be Zion Nelson? Who are the 2 tackles going to be? And when you build that, then you can go or find those guys. Then you can build inside. And I already gave you the list of names, but there's so many guys who are of a similar caliber that, I mean, Devon Donaldson's going to start. DJ Scaife, he's going to start. Those are returning starters. I don't think they're going to start in the same places that they did last year, which is why, I mean, I'm going through the whole thing. But those are 2 guys who are going to start on this line. But find a home for them. Devon Donaldson, he kicked inside to center from left guard after Corey Gaynor got hurt. Are you going to leave him at center? Are you going to put him at play side, front side, left guard, next to your left tackle? I would think that would probably be a great pairing, because if you're going to go with Zion Nelson, who's a true freshman, maybe you put a junior who's 6'6", 360, who's a freshman All-American next to him, if in case you need to help or slide or double team or something like that against, an A1 defensive end going against this true freshman. Maybe you do that. I don't know. But again, I think that, yeah, you need to set your tackles and then build the inside from there, because, if DJ Scaife is one of the tackles, then obviously he's not going to take an interior position. But if he's not one of the tackles, then obviously, boom, you have 2 guards or a guard and a center with Donaldson and Scaife. So, yeah, for me, it's really going to be offensive line, because they just cannot be as bad as they've been. I mean, that's just plain and simple. I can't put a more fine point on it than that. So, yeah, I want to see the offensive line. That needs to be settled. And I do not care who the 5 are. I don't care where the 5 play. I just need that unit to be better. periodpointblank.com in the story. So, yeah, finding those guys, finding that 5, starting from the tackles and building to the interior offensive line, that's the position that I'm interested in.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, bringing you the best in discussion, debate, and analysis, regardless of team. But, of course, we feature Miami on Wednesday night with Cam Underwood from State of the U. So you've got a number of ways in which you can contribute. That's, of course, by liking the videos, sharing the videos, and subscribing right here. And, of course, you can participate in the chat and with the super chat as well. And, of course, grab the Amazon link in the description section of any of the videos, and you do your Amazon shopping right there. Doesn't cost you an extra penny, but you help build the channel. I am amused by the argument in the live chat concerning, first, number of national championships and relevance of national championships between Miami and Texas. And then the secondary argument, Cam, being when modern football started. So I always love this, regardless of sport or level of sport, NFL, college football. When did modern NFL, when did modern college football start? And being an old guy, I'm thinking black and white film versus this. And I think the most legitimate division of the two games, meaning modern from pre-modern, would be integration of the black athlete. That's the obvious change in the game, not whether they were wearing leather helmets or whether, because you were born in 1965, you think about 1975 when you started to watch. No, everybody has their own time reference, but that's the only true reference to the talent on the field. Open our eyes, look, 75% of the kids. Well, once we get to the NFL, it certainly shoots up. There are a lot more white athletes on the field in college football, but I don't know what the exact percentages are. But we know that it's a sport that's driven largely by the black athlete. And so I find it funny that some are arguing that 1998, because it was the first year of the BCS, was the first year of modern football. And then I also have 1980 as kind of an arbitrary year. Why 1980? And so I don't know if you have anything to add there, Cam.
No, it's absolutely integration.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, it absolutely is. I don't know how you can think or argue otherwise. If you look at the NFL Hall of Fame, you see all of these guys who went to HBCUs, who are in the Hall of Fame, and there are plenty of them. I urge you to go look. They didn't go to HBCUs to spite other institutions. They went there because that's the only place that they could go. And I mean, if you look at LSU, for an example, they were not the biggest, best team in the state of Louisiana. You know who was? Grambling State University, coached by Eddie Robinson. Because all those guys from all these places that are going to LSU now, Ascension, Gonzales, Alabama, Nacogdoches, all these places, they couldn't go to LSU. Couldn't. So they went to Grambling, or they went to Southern, or they went to Tennessee State, FAMU, North Carolina A&T, Bowie State. I mean, I can't name you all the HBCUs because honestly, I don't even know. Because I mean, I can't name you all the other institutions either. I couldn't even name you all the schools of music, and I was a music major. You know what I mean? But all these places are where they went, and they dominated. Jerry Rice, Mississippi Valley State. Huh? Excuse me? Where? What? Because that's where they had to go. And then when all of a sudden these teams were getting beat down and they're, looking over at, Grambling and Southern winning these championships and all these other teams, they say, you know what? We should bring some of those boys over and have them play for our school. And that's
Jerry Rice, I'm sorry to interrupt. Jerry Rice, by that point, he didn't have to go to Mississippi Valley State. There's some kind of backstory, and I don't remember, grades, whatever the situation.
I mean, I don't know.
The early 80s.
Look, I mean, still,
it was totally integrated at that point.
Well,
mid like 65 to 68 was at the point in which.
I mean, but he still did, and I don't know exactly what the reasonage is, but I mean, like, dude, I mean, if you go back, because I've read some on this because, being black, I want to know my own history. But like I've done multiple reports and a lot of reading on affirmative action and, integration. You're talking about Alan Bakke versus the Regents of the School of the University of Michigan. You're talking Brown versus the Board of Education. Yeah, schools were integrated. Sure. But have you read what some of those people went through and things like that? Like, I mean, everybody wasn't going over there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hell, even if you look at Friday Night Lights, I'm still going halfway through that book. You want to talk about integration and those kind of things? Like, yeah, I'm not going to get too high on my high horse and, go dive too far. But like the clear line of demarcation between prior or ancient and modern, whatever you want to call it, in college football was the decision of non-HBCUs, PWIs, whatever you want to call them, to integrate their sporting teams. I mean, what's the movie with Texas Southern basketball?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, or when they beat Kentucky and everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It just it's not just football, but like I just think it is too. Sometimes the obvious answer is the right answer, and in this case, I do believe it would be integration across the board.
Absolutely, same thing in any other sport, Major League Baseball, the NFL,
Yep,
the NBA certainly more so than any other sport. Yeah, it's not even close. That's what it is. Not, I just love people. All of our reference otherwise is just attached to how old we are. And at what point, obviously every year is just a minor, small progression or evolution of talent, of scheme, of coaching techniques, of all those things that you can't say, boom, 1980, except for, because then.
Look, I'm not even a historical scholar. I have a couple friends who are very big into those kind of things. However, if your perception is based upon only things that you have seen, then I urge you to read more. Everybody didn't read their Shakespeare in school. Maybe you should have. Maybe you didn't read your Invisible Man, your Ralph Ellison. Maybe you didn't read your Black Boy Richard Wright. Maybe you didn't do these other kind of things. But, books have been around for a long, long time. And there's a lot of knowledge in there. And I would just urge you to maybe expand your horizons and read a little something. Maybe.
Absolutely. None of us read enough anymore, or very few of us, I should say. I'm not going to exclude everyone. Most of us do probably more reading, but it's about 3 words at a time on a phone. That's the extent of our reading now, and it's the same words over and over and over in very short spurts. Twitter, etc. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, talking Miami, talking anything on the college football landscape with Cam Underwood from State of the U, who often shows us that in addition to just Miami, can go to other subjects that are more weighty than just the 2019 Miami football team. But that's where we are right now. And
there's layers to the onion, man. I'm a dynamic person. There's more than just sports over here. That's all I'm going to say. But I'm here for sports. So we can talk about sports.
We will continue to talk about sports, and specifically college football. And really, nobody has anything specific in the live chat. I think they were carried away with our extension of that conversation, which started in the live chat. I remember a conversation that I had at one point. This was about Major League Baseball. The same discussion was being had about so-and-so. You can't count all that because it didn't happen in the modern era. And I always love asking people this question: when did the modern era start? And this person was struggling, and then they just pulled a name out of the air and said, when Mickey Mantle started playing. Why? Magically, when Mickey Mantle started playing, it was just a completely different game? Why? Again, segregation and then integration would be the only proper, because of the talent pool, would be the only appropriate answer. Yes, there were other innovations to the game where you could say, oh, there's a demarcation there slightly, but to just say that guys on the field in 1979 and then suddenly they were totally different game in 1980. No, basically it was the same people playing. All right. Cam Underwood from State of the U talking Miami football. All right. We're heading toward August. There was a big recruiting weekend that you previewed for us, prepped us for. Did anything come out of there of note?
Nothing concrete, as in no commitments or anything like that. But, the recruiting weekend that was on April the 13th for the first spring game, or the second spring scrimmage, the first public one that was at Traz Powell. It's always just good to get guys around, man. Justin Flo, 5-star linebacker, the number 1 linebacker in America, flew in from California, and he was on hand for an unofficial visit. And he's talking about he's going to come back for an official visit plethora of guys, recruits who were there. You know, Isaiah Walker Jr., who's a 4-star offensive tackle recruit from Miami Norland. He was there. You know, some 2021 guys and everything. So, I mean, it was more just a laying foundation and kind of behind the scenes because, you know, until a kid really comes out and says, hey, this is my leader, or hey, these are my top schools, or yes, I'm committed here, you know, like releases an edit or anything, it's kind of, you know, you're reading some tea leaves and, you know, trying to talk to, you know, either the kid themselves or, you know, various sources or, you know, I mean, there's a variety of recruiting sites out there and things like that and kind of piecing together the information. So, yeah, just the biggest thing is really, you know, everybody was talking about it was a family atmosphere. All the kids who were there were talking about the fact that they got to interact with the coaches and they got to see how they coach their positions and saw how they could potentially fit into the field or what they could bring if they were out there, how they could impact the game. So that was really the biggest thing. Jalen Knighton from Deerfield Beach High School is a 4-star running back, was previously committed to Clemson, I think. Oklahoma, excuse me. He's committed to Oklahoma, but he was there at the scrimmage, and he was talking about the fact of he was looking around and could see himself in orange and green and things like that. So, yeah, just a lot of that kind of foundation work being laid. And on the other podcast that I was on, and you can see the link is up on stateoftheu.com, so I don't need to go further than that. But the question was asked again to a different panelist about how many visits does a player like a Justin Flo, a 5-star from out of state, Darnell Washington, he's a 6'8" tight end from Las Vegas, Desert Pines High School, Antoine Sampa from Woodbridge, Virginia. You know, it's like kids, elite kids at their positions. How many visits need to have happened before them coming to Miami is a realistic possibility? And another panelist, the same other panelist that I've referenced before, he said that two visits need to happen. And I wanted just to piggyback on that. It needs to be 2 visits, and it needs to be an unofficial and an official visit. So one paid by the player, one paid by the school. Because when you pay for yourself to, you know, a transcontinental flight, that's going to cost. Like, even if you have family members in aviation or rewards points or miles or whatever, like, it's still going to cost you some money to get out there. So when you pay your own way, that shows that you're really interested because, hey, Ma, Dad, like, no, I really want to go over here and see this place. You know, and then coming back for the official visit, that progresses the connection. So if you think about Devante Smith, wide receiver who's at Alabama from Amite, Louisiana, when he was a 5-star, he came down for Paradise Camp a few years ago, and he said all the right things. He did all the right things. And he said, yeah, I'm going to come back for an official visit. Like, I'm really into Miami. Like, they're in my top 3 or 4, the whole entire cycle. It got to be the last weekend in January. His high school basketball playoffs were going on. You know, Devante Smith, because he could hoop too. So he's out there. And so somebody was out there and asked him, okay, cool. So, like, you coming to Miami this weekend? He goes, I mean, we'll see. Wait, what? It's like, yeah, that's your official visit. It's already scheduled. He's like, yeah, we'll see. And then, like, on Friday morning, he was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to my Miami visit. Okay, well, then there's no chance. You know what I mean? So it needs to be 2 visits for elite players from out of state, and unofficial where they pay their way, and then an official where we bring them in and really roll out the red carpet, because you can have kind of different contact levels a little bit on an official visit versus unofficial. So, you know, but yeah, when you're laying the foundation for some of those guys, you know, Justin Flo, he was there. Darnell Washington was not there for that game itself, but he took an unofficial, in close proximity to that. Your Jake Garcia from 2021 class, 5-star potential quarterback. He's taken an unofficial where he's paid his way across the country. Hopefully you get some other guys like a Khalil Ringo, who's a 5-star cornerback from Arizona. I want to say he's like 6'2", 210 and runs like a 4.5, like ridiculous. But when those guys pay their own way, that starts to lay the foundation, and you get them back for their official visit. That's really what will progress the thing. So, you know, I think that the visits that happened on the 13th, for those kids who were out of town or out of state coming in, it was the first step of that kind of a process. But yeah, you're really going to see Miami be a little bit more selective, hopefully, in this class. So yeah, sometimes you do have to play the long game a little bit, and especially with an entirely new staff on offense and a new head coach, you're going to have some of the recruiting stagnate a little bit because you are proving yourself to the student or to the players, just like they're proving themselves to you. So I think that is the biggest takeaway from the visits on the 13th. So we just got to press forward, go from here.
I did not intend to drag us back to the previous topic, but D. Rev Lee makes a very good point that needs to be conveyed. So once the sport was integrated, it's not like it was, bam, integrated, and all of a sudden there were all sorts of black athletes on every college football team. It was a trickle, and it took several years in which the sport was integrated. It's not like Jackie Robinson hit the field one year, and then boom, the next year, boom, everybody, the floodgates were open, and there was fair participation. That did not occur. It took several years in both cases.
Right. And I mean, you look at Larry Doby, who played for the Cleveland Indians. And he was the first African-American player in the American League because Jackie Robinson obviously was in the National League. And that was my point with, referencing, board versus the Brown of Education, board versus the Brown versus the Board of Education. I got it backwards. I'm sorry. Things were integrated, but you had, like little Susie and, little Dave, like the first kids, but it wasn't like, okay, cool. It wasn't 50% integrated. It was like a little drop here, drop there, and it kind of the faucet opened and things like that. So it in places in general, in like regular life where integration happened, and in sports, yes, it was a gradual process, not an overnight process. That is a very good and clearly stated point, sir.
I will certainly give this up to Cam, but I stated a couple weeks ago that it was much too early to break down the Florida game, but I will defer to Cam on these many matchup questions that people are making.
I'll take a couple.
Let's take into consideration that this game is 4 months away. All right, so the Florida tight end is a bit of a beast, and people are wondering, several actually, about containing the tight end on defense.
Who? Like, honestly and truly, like who's their tight ends? Like why
pretty well, but I'm not recognizing. Are you concerned about Miami stopping Florida's tight end Lucas Kroll? Let me look up his stats. I would normally think that I would know the Florida tight end if he played a lot last year.
I have them in front of me. He played in 13 games, had 6 catches for 75 yards.
Whoa, I'm not.
The tight ends in front of him had 8 catches for 106 and 9 catches for 128. No, I'm not concerned with that. I believe that we will be able to, and that's really talking about the second level and the interior of the defense. So if we're being real about it, that comes down to, do I trust our safeties in coverage? Yes. Do I trust our linebackers, in zone or depending on, or pattern matching or whatever it happens to be? Yes, I do trust them. But no, they don't. Kamora Gamble, went to Southridge with Mark Pope and decided that he wanted to go to Florida instead of Miami. And he had, Control Shift Tab. If I open that back up, as a freshman, Kamora Gamble had 7 catches for 58 yards. In 13 games of action. Lucas Kroll played in 13. He had 6 catches. I don't understand. Maybe it's a troll question, but no, they haven't proven anything that I need to be scared of. Respect all opponents and fear none, but especially guys who are coming off of seasons where the most catches at that position was 9 for the year. And if you add up the total catches, because I'm going to do this math right now, 9 plus 8 is 17 plus 9 plus 8 is 17, plus 6 is 23, plus 7 is 30. So 30 catches for the entire season? No. What about that is frightening. No. Respect all opponents and fear none. But that position, if you want to ask about Florida's offense and guys that maybe give you a little bit of pause, how about Kadarius Toney, who's fast and shifty? How about Van Jefferson and Trayvon Grimes, who are fast and big wide receivers? How about those guys? But tight end? Nah, not concerned at all. Just as long as we do our job, if Shaq Quarterman goes to cover a tight end and falls face first, and Gervin Hall and Amari Carter run into each other like it's a cartoon and fall down, and the guy's open for 75 yards, that would be more concerning to the defense than about them. But I don't see what a Florida tight end presents that is problematic at this. I honestly don't see it. If somebody does see it, then tweet me at Underwood Sports, at the State of the U. Let me know. But I don't see it.
Yeah, I take pride in tracking the best players on every team and knowing the impact players on both sides of the ball, especially guys that accumulate stats, which are obviously offensive skill position players. And I just drew a blank and I thought, well, I didn't draw a blank. I thought maybe I did and thought, Florida tight end. They got some guy that caught 60 passes last year. I can't. And then I, referenced the name there. So not necessarily a combination of Jason Witten and John Mackey. You talk about an integration back in the day. John Mackey, one of the first tight ends as a African American in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Okay, Blake Baker. I always find it fascinating when a very centric head coach takes over a program. Manny Diaz, defense, and then the role of the coordinator under him. So your thoughts about Blake Baker, if you could really tell anything from defensive play during spring or what was talked about.
Blake Baker was brought in because Blake Baker learned under Manny Diaz, and he's going to run the same exact defense. And that defense was number one in America, number one in tackles for loss, number one in passing defense. Like fifth in sacks. Havoc rate was up there, like number one for defensive line, number three for front seven, because the linebackers factor into that as well. I mean, he's going to continue to propagate the same paradigm that we've seen. And I don't see a problem with that. I mean, he's going to coach linebackers as well, but Manny's obviously going to still work with them a little bit. I mean, I know Manny's coaching the whole entire team, but I mean, he's not going to be hands off, So, yeah, I mean, when you want to be a head coach and you're going to give the reins of the defense up, it makes sense to bring in the guy who replaced you the last time that you left, or 2 times ago. So when Manny Diaz left from Louisiana Tech to go to Mississippi State, Blake Baker had been on that staff as an assistant and then got promoted to defensive coordinator. And go look at Louisiana Tech's defense. I mean, they did some things where they're creating havoc. Obviously, Jalen Ferguson is your new career-leading sack master in college football history. So, yeah, I am perfectly fine with it. I think that, where I think we're going to see maybe a little bit of difference is the feel for calling blitzes. Manny was consistent calling blitzes, and sometimes that came to bite him a little bit. Like he would just call them, first quarter, 3rd and 8, I'm still calling a blitz. And maybe that blitz got home later and you set it up early. So I think that's really going to kind of be when you call those specials, if you will, the blitzes and those kind of packages. I think that's where we're going to see a departure for Blake Baker versus Manny Diaz. But I'm perfectly fine with him because he runs the exact scheme of defense, I believe, that Manny Diaz instilled in him from his time in a couple places. I want to say he was a grad assistant before with him at Texas, I want to say, and then at Louisiana Tech. So, I'm perfectly fine with him being there. And I look forward to seeing what a Blake Baker defense looks like. And it is my extreme hope and goal that it looks pretty damn similar to what a Manny Diaz defense looked like these last few years.
It's not broke, don't fix it. And when you've got a top 5 defense across the board in just about every statistical category and measurement, especially when the offense is getting off the field 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and leaving you in bad field position, and you're still achieving those kind of numbers, even in scoring defense, that's not quite there, but again, not helped out by the offense, and scoring defense plays into offensive proficiency as well. No need to tinker too much with that. Prince, 6'1" on the line, a bit of a inside joke between us, and actually not inside because it was for all to see. I will let you know, Prince, that I was challenged on my scheduling formula, non-conference scheduling formula by MCD Sports 4, and he quickly decided that I had the right approach to fixing non-conference scheduling in college football. Okay, back to Cam, State of the U. Obviously, check it out, lock it in. Miami sports location for you, Canes fans, regardless of the sport, and especially football, of course, with the NFL draft kicking off tomorrow night. Devin Ray is asking for an overview of special teams and what we can expect there.
Special teams is going to hopefully put, the best players on the field. Bubba Baxa, he still needs to refine his accuracy, but he does have a very strong leg. And I think, we didn't kick the ball or go for field goals all the time last year when we could have. But as I have the stats up in front of me, if I go back, and I go down one more. Sorry, just hold on with me. Not kickoffs, place kicking. There we go. Bubba Baxa was 75%. He was 9 for 12 and 45 out of 46 on extra points. So, solid, if unspectacular, but you know what? I'll take that. So if we have some marginal progression from him where he, maybe goes 12 for 14 on field goals, so upping his percentage and, makes all of his extra points, that would be great. And, hopefully we score more than 46 touchdowns this year. That'd be great. Offense. Hey, Alejandro Cardenas had 2 extra points as well, but, that was probably in the Savannah State game. So yeah, hopefully marginal progression at a minimum from Bubba Baxa. Lewis Headley, your viral sensation superstar, the 25-year-old Australian punter, who's 6'5", 245, worked scaffolding in the Australian desert and owned a tattoo shop in Bali for a while, which is why he's tatted everywhere. Really interesting stories, and there's like many outlets, including ours, that have done profiles on him. But he's going to come in and hopefully be your punter. He's going to be a really, really big addition, and in a traditional punting way, and also Australian rules punting, because being a big dude from Australia, you've played rugby and Australian rules football, so you can kind of roll out and kick like that. So that's going to be it. In return, I just want to see guys out there, playing to their speed level. I don't want to see guys out there thinking. You know what I mean? Jeff Thomas. What's his name? Nigel Bethel had a kick return for a touchdown in the scrimmage at Traz Powell. DJ Dallas, Mark Pope. There's enough guys on this team who have speed and wiggle in space where the return game should be okay. So yeah, that's really kind of what it's going to be like. I really want to see the coverage units get a little bit better, and I think that when we're not playing walk-ons on kick coverage like we were in the spring, I think that things are going to get a little bit better, because Nigel Bethel's touchdown in the spring game shouldn't have been a touchdown. I mean, it was a nice return. He's fast. He showed off his athleticism and everything, but like, you're going up against some dudes who are not going to play. And I mean, like, at all. I mean, I'm not going to call names, but like, there were like honestly walk-ons on the kick coverage unit. And yeah, I'm of the mind that you need to have backups and starters out there. And I mean backups who play, not like, the end of the bench, but like your second string, your like Gervin Hall. If you have Amari Carter and Bubba Bolden starting at safety, then Gervin Hall should be out there. Al Blades, leave him out there on special teams, things like that. You just play your best players. Virginia Tech obviously did that for years. There's other teams that have really strong special teams. So I want to see that. So that's my personal little thing. And I think that, when we have the guys in a real good position, like your actual starters and starting unit on special teams, the coverage unit is actually going to be better. But that's my quick overview of special teams as we sit 4 months to the day from, Miami beating Florida.
August 24th, all by itself. It should be quite a spectacle there in Orlando, and I'm going to enjoy that just because it extends the college football season 1 week. We get to focus on that one particular game, and it doesn't have to fight about 4 or 5 other really good games that next weekend. So it's a good thing. I don't know if it's necessarily a good thing for the players and the preparation with one less a week to prepare for that kind of game, but for us, the fans, it's a good thing.
Well, we're going to start earlier, because you should, I believe, get a waiver. So, they're talking about moving up Paradise Camp into June because fall camp is going to start a little bit earlier because we're playing a week earlier. So, our whole schedule is going to be shifted. So, all of that goes together.
Cam Underwood, State of the U. So, again, you need to show your appreciation to hopefully me, but more so Cam, who spends his Wednesday nights with us just about each and every week. And we've got about 15, 16 weeks probably to the Florida game. So plenty of time to talk Florida matchup and the huge one against the 2 powers from the SEC and the ACC from the Sunshine State. All right. One last thing, unless anybody else has anything interesting. People are asking about Mike Harley and D. Wiggins being more of a presence at the wide receiver spot.
I think that everybody needs to fight for their position. I think everybody needs to fight for their job. And if they do their job and they earn it, then they can be a bigger factor. It's really on them. They got to stay after. And this is a thing that I spoke about earlier with KJ Osborne coming in and teaching or showing the guys how it is to practice and to work towards being a professional. You got to stay after on the jugs machine. You got to get one of the quarterbacks and, run routes. So you're working both on your route running and your hands. You know what I mean? Like, you got to do those things. So, if they're willing to put in the work and that work, proves itself in the form of production, then they or anyone else can carve the role for themselves that they want. Because especially at the wide receiver position, the group is very talented, and the separation of that group is less than other places. So if you want to play, you're going to have to go and take it from somebody, take snaps away from other people. And that is going to happen by your work and your work ethic and your performance in practice. And, just when Miami was great, all the practices were harder than the games. All these guys said it. DJ Williams, Willis McGahee, anybody, Santana Moss. So, yeah, practice was hard as hell. Because I'm skipping the line. I'm trying to, hey, coach, no, I'm trying to be up there. And you want to fight your teammates because, no, I'm trying to get these reps. I'm trying to show you that on Saturday, oh, yeah, nah, we got it easy. So I know that you mentioned D. Wiggins and Mike Harley specifically, but that goes for everybody. If Mark Pope doesn't put the work in, even though I think that he can be a breakout player in this offense, had a 52-yard end around or jet sweep in the spring scrimmage at Traz Powell, Mark Pope is going to sit his happy ass on the bench then, if he doesn't do the work, and other guys did. So it's not just about them. It's about everybody. You got to go. You got to earn it. You got to take that playing time. It's not going to be gifted to you as playing time was for last year's starting quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be gifted to you. You got to go and take it. So whether it's the guys you named or anybody else at any other position, you have to step up and show us that you want to be here, that you want to play. Because Manny Diaz is talking about this new Miami. And if you do things to a high level all the time, Shaq Quarterman continue to do things at a high level. If it is a question about you doing them to a high level, then come hell or high water, you better figure out a way to prove to these coaches and to your teammates that you're going to be new and different in a good way. Otherwise, you're going to be watching the show on the sideline while somebody else is running those routes, catching those balls, scoring those touchdowns, and winning these games.
Amen. Preach it.
Boom. Hey, man, it starts going downhill and get a little momentum, boy. And yeah, it gets going.
So we appreciate everyone in the live chat, and we also appreciate those that encourage others to like the video. So this is a very simple process. Hit the like button on all the videos. We should have as many people liking the videos as come through and appreciate and take part in the live chat. Also, you can share the video. So after this is done posting, I'm going to take all the conversations from tonight, Oklahoma, Ohio State, and now Miami, and I'm going to segment those so somebody can just watch the Miami content in particular. So share the videos, and also, of course, comment as you are in the live chat, but also to the posted video. So if you've joined the conversation late, you know what to do. Wait for the video to post, and you can go back and watch it in its entirety. Also, share the video, subscribe to the channel, of course. You can also help us out on the Super Chat as well. Join us on Patreon at MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, and on Amazon, of course. I'm sure Cam could even recite the spiel at this point. Grab the link in any of the description sections of any of the videos, the Amazon link, and you help support the channel without spending an extra penny. Cam, state of the U.
Yeah, that's it, man. So, hopefully you liked my last little sermon there as I got rolling. But, thank you guys for the support, the continued support. And hopefully we keep bringing you content that is worthy of your support. So you can follow me on Twitter at Underwood Sports. Our website's Twitter, which I also manage, is at The State of the U. On Facebook.com/The State of the U is another place you can find us. And also on our website, stateoftheu.com. We have a great crew of contributors. We're recruiting new contributors right now. So I'm going through, I think I have 53 applicants already, which is,
wow.
There's always a lot of talented people, and it's always a tough decision to, see who we bring in. But, last year, brought in Marshall Thomas and Gabby Urrutia to the group, and those are two of our superstars. Those two of our top contributors. So, it's always a fun experience to see new people coming in and hopefully joining our group. So we will continue to hopefully bring you top-level commentary and analysis and everything that you can look for from a Miami Hurricanes site. So I know others claim to be the best, but we know where that is, and that's at stateoftheu.com. So come on over and fan with us.
So I guess you folks just won't let this thing die. So we're going to let Cam go. I was going to let the live stream go, but Zoe's asking to come on. We'll let Zoe come on and talk a little Miami football. I do have a record at 10 o'clock Eastern time, and then I'm going to catch a break finally talking some Texas A&M football.
All right. Well,
Cam, stopping by, man.
Definitely. So,
Always.
Zoe, you got the mic, man. You guys have some good time, and I'm going to go finally eat some dinner. I'll talk to you.
Oh, that's what I need to do too. I've
See
basically
you.
been scraping together like nuts and whatever cereal today. Yeah, a real dinner after I get done with this. Cam, thanks so much. It's always a pleasure.